Yeah, I like that nickname. Buy or sell, as always, is brought to you by Jock Market. Stay in the game with jockmkt.com. Get involved in the Stanley Cup Finals. See if you can buy low on a couple of depth players before they make their case for the Conn Smythe. Not that I don't think I think we can already kind of identify who's going to win it on each of these teams as we head into the final. And that's actually what I'm going to start with. I'm going to hit you with a hot take for number one. Carrie Price is going to win the Conn Smythe no matter what. Frank?
Sell. We don't know how this series is going to unfold. If the Habs get swept, there's zero chance that happens. Just as an example.
Okay.
That's a good question, actually. He's been really good. Like, who's the front runner on the Islanders? That's the thing. I think it's Braden Point in Tampa Bay, but I'm not sure there's an obvious choice for New York. So that if New York wins, right, then that creases Price's odds. So, but I still think Tampa's winning the cup, so I'm going to sell and say Braden Point.
Frank, you brought up, maybe it's a sweep. Maybe it's a quick series. I don't think so. I think the Stanley Cup Final, no matter who's matching up against Montreal, it's going to go at least 6 games. Jason?
Oof. Like I thought these two series would go like 6. I didn't think the Islanders would get 7, so give them credit. But you know what? I'm actually going to sell. I think it's going to be a 5-game series.
Wow. I'm going to buy almost every year. And I'm trying to think how many I've been to, at least 10 cup finals. You can almost pencil it in every time for 6. There's very few, there's been very few exceptions. The last one I can think of is the Caps beating the Golden Knights in 5. And even that was a little bit of a surprise. I think in this case, these teams will be, Montreal's feeling something, I think, the Islanders definitely are. I don't know. I just think it goes at least 6. And yeah, I mean, look how tight it's been. 26 overtime games so far, one off the record for a playoff year, which is 27. I'd imagine we break that record.
Moving along here, we got news this week that Dave Hackstall was fired in Seattle. Surprising to me that it wasn't Rick Tocchet hired in Seattle. I will say that Rick Tocchet's next gig will be the first team who fires their coach next season. I'm going to say he waits it out. Start of next season, some contender will fall out of it early, fire their coach. Tocchet will be the next man up. Frankie, buying or selling?
I'm buying. A little bit surprised still that Rick Tocchet wasn't the guy in Seattle. I just think he checks the boxes. And not to say Dave Hackstall won't do a good job. I mean, Tocchet went down to the wire there in Seattle, spending a couple days there last week, extensive interviews. And yeah, it leaves Buffalo. And it leaves Arizona. We know he's not going back to Arizona. So that's one job in Buffalo that he interviewed for. And there, to my knowledge, hasn't been a lot of contact since. So I think he's out. And I think, he's going to be a pretty quick get next year for someone.
I'm going to sell because I think that Rick Tocchet is going to stay in the game and end up as an assistant coach on someone's staff this year.
And that's kind of where I was going with it too. I was wondering if you would take a gig as an
assistant
coach.
Yeah.
It's a risk too to kind of wait into next season and see what jobs open up. Tocchet's former team, the Arizona Coyotes, have a couple of players who are on your trade list. Frank, Connor Garland, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I'm going to say they both are not back in the desert next season. Start with you, Jason.
Yeah, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, his contract and his play, he's a tough guy to trade. Now, maybe he's just like, here's my concern on Oliver Ekman-Larsson. The fact that he wanted to re-sign in a team that had never been competitive. So I kind of felt like he chose comfort, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But now it's all of a sudden like, well, maybe it's not working here. Maybe you can get him and maybe he'll be reborn going somewhere else. But he was very picky on where he only had a short trade list a year ago. So, and that's his right, but I don't think he'll get traded. I think Connor Garland, if they want to trade him, there'll be teams lining up to take that guy.
I am going to sell as well. I do think it's difficult to trade Ekman-Larsson. They're under, from my understanding, a pretty strict budget constraint for next season internally. So they're going to need to shave salary. Now, does that mean you're willing to eat some of Ekman-Larsson's contract for a while, to get him off the books? If Ekman-Larsson is at $5.5 million or $6 million bucks, like if you're, I don't know, the Oilers, are you interested? I don't know. I mean, I just think you might bring some other teams into the mix. I'm more concerned about the term. 6 years left is a long time for a guy that's shown some decline, but Connor Garland is out the door. You read the quotes in the Daily Faceoff story, from his agent. Yeah, he's not coming back there.
Last one here. Let's go to sort of three of the big name forwards that'll be on the free agent market: Gabriel Landeskog, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Taylor Hall. I'm going to say with the flat cap, some free agents getting squeezed, all three of those guys are going to end up back with their current clubs. No one is going anywhere new. Frank, you're buying or selling?
So read me the names again. Taylor Hall. Who else?
Nuge and Landeskog.
I'm going to sell. I don't know. I think Nuge is an absolute coin flip at this point. I think Taylor Hall really wants to re-sign in Boston. I think they're going to try and grind him on term and dollars. I think there's a good chance he goes there and stays there, I should say. I do think Landeskog stays as a no doubter. Colorado, I think, has just waited to this point, for expansion draft purposes. But Nuge is the one guy that I have a huge question mark about whether he's coming back or not.
Yeah, I'm with you. The other two are obvious ones. And so I know the Oilers, Ken Holland, they've made multiple offers to Nugent Hopkins right now. And, their camp is Rick Vallette and them have countered. So it's, nothing new per se on that. He's the one, like there's lots of left winger options out there. And I think Edmonton kind of has like a number in the sand. Like they're willing to go longer term, but that means a lower AAV. So you get more guaranteed money overall on a longer deal, but the AAV is lower. So I'm not sure. Like I can't get a read on Nugent Hopkins. He'd like to go long-term. That's what I know. He'd like to commit long-term. So I'm going to buy. I'm going to say that they all stick around. When all said and done, there'll be lots of negotiation, but that all three end up back with the teams they finished this season with.
And I think that's a pretty good bet, by the way. And I just wanted to add one thing on Nuge is the wild card here is his own personality and his makeup. Obviously he wants to stay. I think that's pretty clear. If it comes down to $2 or $3 million is the difference between what the Oilers are offering with that line in the sand offer and what he could get on the market, I think he stays. If it becomes a lot bigger than that, $6-10 million difference between that and what he thinks he can get, then I think he walks. So I think ultimately he's willing to take a little bit of a hometown discount, but I think the question is how much.
Fair enough. All right. That was Buy or Sell, brought to you by Jock Market. Stay in the game, get involved in the Stanley Cup Finals. Maybe you want to get in on the Major League Baseball season. Maybe you want to get in on the end of the NBA playoffs as well. You can do it all. Get the promo code DFO50 for a $50 deposit bonus.